Mr. Moonkit. I would like to thank Ms. Judy Chen for proposing the motion. It is a very forward-looking motion. As Ms. Chen said, we are faced with a challenge of a changing demographic structure. We need to take a more macro perspective and we need to be forward-looking. With the challenge, it's not just about fertility rate or a shrinking labor force issue. We need to make sure we align with the country's national 15 5-year plan. The country emphasizes the importance of having new quality productive forces, and we need to make good use of innovation and technology. As a super connector and super value adder, Hong Kong should become the engine for growth for the productivity of the country, and we need innovative talents to do that. I have 4 suggestions. 1, we need to consolidate and enhance basic education in Hong Kong to expand our talent pool. We can't expand our talent pool with nothing. We need to actively promote digital education, STEAM education, and explore the different possibilities of AI-related education to not only nurture scientific literacy in students, but to actually create a favorable environment in society to incorporate AI into learning and teaching, to nurture innovative thinking in students, and to lay solid foundations for development of the city in future. We also need to make sure we make use of different opportunities such as the development of the Northern Metropolis to actively attract different educational institutions, to set up R&D institutes so as to create a vibrant ecosystem in R&D, so as to realize R&D outcomes in universities to meet the demands of different sectors. And it can also create a positive feedback loop where university students during research can see their applications being of use to society. We also need to promote continuous learning for talents. We have seen rapid advancements in technology. We can not only rely on recent graduates to meet the new developments in society. We need to make use of AI to provide tailor-made training solutions for in-service workers to learn new skills. This is how we can really transform. We also need to be proactive in creating an international hub for high caliber talents, which is what the chief executive said before. We need to have an international perspective with changing geopolitics. Hong Kong as an international city practicing one country, 2 systems, we have our unique charm to mainland and overseas talents. We need to adopt an industry-oriented approach to provide R&D support for strategic sectors such as AI and biotech. We also need to provide targeted support in living to attract ASEAN and Belt and Road talents so that Hong Kong will become a primary destination for young talents from different parts of the world to realize their dreams. Increasing the population cannot really solve the different issues. We need to move beyond a 1 + 1 = 2 mindset. If we can go from basic education and all the way to lifelong learning, global recruitment, we can have a comprehensive strategy to have talents needed to create new quality productivity for the benefit of Hong Kong and the country. I still submit Mr. Chow Siu Chung. According to projections, in 2028, we will have 2.08 million people who are 65 years old or above. Every 1 in 4 people would be an elderly person, and we only have 31,700 odd newborns last year. It is a record low. We are also faced with the challenges of an economic transformation and an AI revolution. We have new requirements for the demographic structure. This is the time where we need to have solutions. Otherwise, the situation will become even worse. We need to really promote an environment that is favorable to the elderly and middle age so that we can have those who are older rejoin the market. We have only a 50.1 labor participation rate of 60 to 64-year-olds in Hong Kong, whereas in Singapore it's 68.4%. It is a large gap between Hong Kong and Singapore. In Singapore, they have such a high labor force participation rate of older persons because there are different policies encouraging employment of older persons. There are some re-employment allowances encouraging employers to hire older persons. In Singapore, there are also laws compelling employers to hire older workers or provide compensation. We do have the employment program for the elderly and middle age and the re-employment allowance pilot scheme, but the policies are not as comprehensive as those in Singapore. In Singapore, there are laws prohibiting age discrimination passed last year. In Hong Kong, there are no plans to legislate for that at this point in time. We have much to improve on in supporting elderly employment. I think the government should shift its focus to encouraging childbearing, to creating a childbearing friendly environment, to provide comprehensive support rather than making use of one-off subsidies to support childbearing. Before, the government has made use of a newborn baby bonus and promotion of childcare services as well as support measures in housing and taxation. I do appreciate the government's measures. I hope the government will continue to review the effectiveness of such measures and make adjustments if necessary. But we're still lacking in basic policy support, such as the statutory paternity leave. We are lagging behind other cities in the country, Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangdong, that have 10 to 15 days of paternity leave. And in South Korea and Singapore, they have 20 days or above. Even Thailand, who have just recently had new paternity leave arrangements, they have 15 days of leave. I hope the government can review and increase the number of days for paternity and maternity leaves. Many members talked about extending the retirement age of civil servants. I think we need a careful review. We also need to consult the different civil servants unions. We need to make sure there is flexibility for civil servants to opt for their own choices. We need to really move fast, but we also need to be patient in formulating demographic policy. The government should set up a high-level coordination mechanism that have secretaries leading civil servants in encouraging childbearing and unleashing labor potential, as well as training and retaining talents to make sure we implement policies in a targeted manner. We need to have determination and have consistent policies to create a bright future for Hong Kong. I so submit speaking in support of the motion and amendments.
Mr. Bill Tang. Thank you, Mr. Deputy. We talk about a sense of well-being all the time. I look back at my more than 40 years of my life. What does it mean to me by well-being? When I turned 30, I became a father. My wife and I both worked. But we could get home by the evening, or we could have dinner at my in-laws' house, and then we could go out for a walk. You don't have to be rich, you just have to have a family. And you need time, quality time with your family. You can talk about how the kid grows up. It doesn't have to be smooth sailing all the way. But if you have all those elements, you get a sense of well-being. You start to develop an affinity for the community. So having children is crucial for this sense of well-being. The question for us is, are our young people willing to get married and start a family? But can couples truly get home by the evening? Do young couples truly own their home? We should be working towards that. Going home by sunset, everybody owning their home, does it work? How do we measure the success? We have yet to see a comprehensive policy in place with which we can persuade and convince young people that this approach works. The FTU has been calling for an initiative for years for those determined singletons. They stay single by choice. That's their choice. But I believe many young people simply want to wait for the right person and they want to start a family. So we are calling for a voluntary savings scheme. You graduate from university, you work, you start putting money into the pot. That money can be the young person's down payment, or the pot of money can also give the young person access to special housing schemes, especially for those in the sandwich class. Some people in the sandwich class already have their HOS flat, but it's like a lottery. Young families need their HOS flats, but they don't get lucky. So we have to find ways that make it possible for young people and young couples to plan their life. We have been calling for the savings scheme, so maybe this can be considered for the budget. Many women are highly capable people. They can juggle family with career. But after they give birth, can women hold on to their career? Not every business, not every employer is patient enough to give those women back their old position. In some cases, women are sacked after coming back from their maternity leave. Can we offer women better protections? Can we prevent employers from sacking women after giving birth? We need that to give women assurance. Mr. Sunny Tan. 2 years ago, the chief executive cited research to say that Hong Kong needed 10 million people. Opinions are divided on this matter. But a city's competitiveness has to do with its population size and density. Look at New York City. Its metropolitan areas like Shenzhen, 20 million people. In Beijing and Shanghai, there are more than 20 million people. Last August, we had more than 8 million people. By 2046, we will have roughly 8.96 million people. The World Economic Forum released a report saying that a city needs to attract people and capital to sustain its productivity. So we have to give priority to training local talent. We also need to bring in outside talent, but more people isn't necessarily better. In Singapore, in 2024, they had only 6.04 million people. Per capita GDP exceeded 700,000 Hong Kong dollars. in Hong Kong, that figure was only 420,000 Hong Kong dollars. That's because Singapore has been luring top-notch talent and entrepreneurs to go there with policy. They focused on knowledge-intensive industries. They pursued a cluster economy. So for our government, we should get more people to come here and get better talent as well. First, let's attract top-notch entrepreneurs who come here. Those entrepreneurs bring with them capital and their teams. They can add value. With a cluster of industries, our local SMEs can benefit. They will also provide quality jobs. Let's learn from the mainland's practice. Let's offer concessions and waivers. For incoming talent and businesses, let's offer tax breaks, so that we get the workers and the businesses. For tax-exempt businesses, we should require a minimum period of operation, and we should require those businesses to hire local workers so that businesses enjoy tax breaks and offer benefits to the local population. We have a number of talent admission schemes. Our workers' median age is at 47, 48 years old. To pursue the goal of 8 centers, we lack specialists and also leaders for those centers. Let's take the East meets West Center for International Cultural Exchange. Experts and specialists in this industry may not be graduates from top-notch universities. They may not be paid $2 million per year. So let's import more specialists, young specialists from overseas, so that we get quality talent, and let's also adapt our local training and education to align with our country's 15th five-year plan. We need a diverse environment. Our city is trilingual and biliterate. We offer a wide range of services. Hong Kong is China's most cosmopolitan city. Still, we are behind truly international cities. On alignment with international cities, our airport freight throughput is the world's top handler, but in terms of passenger volume, we are behind. In terms of language, last April, I pointed out the underused English service of the RTHK. English programs kept shrinking as a share of the TV programs offered by RTHK. So we have to work on languages. We have to create this environment that would facilitate the development of an international city. We have to create this favorable environment so that outside talent comes in and put down roots here. I so submit. I support the motion. Ms. Michelle Tang. We are grappling with a wide range of demographic challenges. The birth rate is low, our population is aging, our workforce is shrinking. Our government statistics showed us a grim picture. By 2046, more than 1 in 3 people will be over the age of 65. And that means the dependency ratio will go all the way up. That means a huge burden on workers. In the long run, that will hurt our competitiveness and impetus for growth. Given this grave challenge, we have to get to the root of the problem. The government should set up a high-level decision-making body dedicated to planning and development strategies on demographics. We should coordinate cross-departmental resources. We need a short-term, medium, and long-term population policy. On that basis, we should work on housing, planning, and land by coming up with a long-term blueprint to allocate resources to set a clear direction for the community's long-term development. Our low birth rate has to do with financial pressures and the lack of childcare services. The government should keep encouraging childbirth. Let's create a favorable childbearing environment so that people will be comfortable with having children. We should regularize the newborn baby bonus, the child allowance, should also go up from $130,000 to $150,000 per year. For families with multiple children, let's adopt a progressive tax allowance so that we take pressure off middle-class families. The government should also consider an incentive scheme for family-friendly employers. Employers offering flexible hours and parental leave should get tax breaks or incentives. Let's encourage working mothers to work. That will unleash the female labor force. Let's also tap into the silver group. Let's develop the silver economy. The government should gradually extend the retirement age for public service bodies and government departments, but we have to make it a gradual process and give those workers a choice. We also need greater support for reskilling and job matching so that seniors can keep contributing to the community. I also support Professor Priscilla LEUNG's amendment, which is setting up a silver startup fund so that we provide the sort of capital and guidance for seniors looking to start businesses. That will help seniors contribute to the community, and that will also create new industries. We need to look after people of all age groups, and we should also invest in the future. We need a better workforce, and for that we need an overhaul of the education system. We should step up education on STEM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And we should encourage upskilling among workers so that workers adapt to a highly digitalized environment that also makes extensive use of AI. On outside talent, we should improve our talent admission schemes. Let's draw the best and brightest from Belt and Road countries to come here to work or start a business, so that Hong Kong becomes a sustainable economy that is also an inclusive city. Mr. Stanley proposed more support for people looking to have children, but on increasing the days of paternity leave and maternity leave, that warrants caution because businesses will be affected, especially for small, medium, and micro enterprises. The government should talk to businesses and forge a consensus before proceeding. I so submit.
Dr. Junius Ho, Deputy President. Do people want to give birth or have a pet? In Singapore, they faced a similar problem. For those who are highly educated, they're unwilling to give birth. In Hong Kong, we face the same problem. Therefore, we have 700,000 pets in Hong Kong. This is a fact. Is it that people have pets and they're unwilling to give birth? Well, it is about responsibility. To raise a child, and for that child to become a talent, that child, after he has grown up and get a doctoral degree, it may cost $10 million. This is a huge financial burden. In Ms. Judy Chan's motion, there are 4 suggestions on how we can improve our birth rate. One of them is to improve the assisted reproductive services. I'm particularly concerned about this area. How can we ease the worries and burden of young couples who want to give birth? Like Mr. Bill Tang said, when he was 30, he brought his children as well as his in-laws for a walk, and that gave him a great sense of well-being. But nowadays, people don't get up work so early. We have to first take away the pressure
from families. What strategies can we come up with? A lot of young families, they look for confinement companions, and they may charge 50,000 or even 100,000 per month. They're willing to pay for up to 2 or 3 months, and we see that there is a huge demand for confinement nannies, therefore. Just a couple of days ago, I was in the Constitutional Affairs panel meeting, and we talked about the 2021 population census, and we found that 8% of our total population, they are ethnic minorities, and of them 55% are foreign domestic helpers, and most of them come from the Philippines and Indonesia. They together account for 350,000 people of our population. This is from the population census conducted in 2021. They should account for in total 400,000 people of our population now. We could perhaps adjust our policy for foreign domestic helpers. Could we bring in domestic helpers from the mainland instead? Why should we only bring in domestic helpers from the Philippines and Indonesia? We need confinement nannies and other kinds of helpers. So why not think about bringing in people from the mainland to take away the pressure of young people? Say the basic income for them is $5,100. Then for a month, that's like $50 million. For 1 year, that accounts for $600 million. So for every 10,000 people, we spend $600 million. Every year, we see great spending on domestic helpers. We hope to improve our demographic structure, and we can start from each household. We're already working on other areas. If we can change this policy, I believe we'll be able to see improvement. I so submit. Thank you. Mr. Brave Chen. Thank you, Deputy President. I thank the secretaries for attending this council meeting, and just by looking at the number of secretaries sitting here, we know how much importance the government attaches to this topic. I thank Ms. Judy Chen for moving this motion so that we can have an in-depth discussion on this. We have to come up with strategies. On Hong Kong population, there was an analysis done by the United Nations. We have the lowest birth rate among the world, according to the studies. We need a 2.1 in terms of the total fertility rate, but we are only standing at 0.84. We see that there is a persistently low birth rate, and this is one of the challenges that we have to cope with. The central government as well as the SAR government attaches importance to this. Like President Xi said, population is a territorial and a long-term strategic problem, and it has to do with the great rejuvenation of our nation. Hong Kong as part of the special administrative region. The chief executive, Mr. John Lee, wrote out a number of measures to encourage childbirth. How can we do better? We're facing a challenge of low birth rate, as said. The secretaries here, as well as Ms. Judy Chen, has already said that we have an aging population problem, we have a shrinking workforce, and we need top-level design. The government is already working on these. Now, turning to last year's policy address, the chief executive said that we have to encourage birth, we have to deal with the aging population problem, we have to attract talents, and these talents will bring their children here, and all these will help address the problem. But we need to see an all-rounded and all-encompassing policy that covers different levels of the government. We are making various types of adjustments to our policies, and we need the support from the entire government. Say, for example, we are giving $20,000 of newborn baby cash to families, and we have to make sure that the cash is disbursed to families. And this is a great matter for families because they desperately need the support. And I support Ms. Nixie Lam's amendment as well. There was a suggestion that we have to raise the retirement age for all civil servants to 65. Some civil service groups are of the view that it depends on the position. Take Donald Trump as an example. He started to become the president of the U.S. at the age of 80. So when should he retire? We should not impose a fixed retirement age for all posts. So it will depend on the actual needs. For civil servants who are younger, who are physically fit, you may want to raise their retirement age. For those who are physically fit, then you might want them to change their posts or hire them again under post-retirement contracts. A lot of people, however, do want to retire early because we're seeing a longer life expectancy. There are retired civil servants who became secretaries. So I suggest that we look at the positions instead of raising the retirement age across the board. Now we have to improve the top-level design of the policies as well. I hope the government could look at this holistically. Mr. Ehrenbach. The birth rate as well as the death rate would directly affect the demographic structure of a city. Low birth rate, aging population, as well as a shrinking labor force would worsen the aging population problem. We need to have a balanced demographic structure. According to electrical papers, the latest birth rate, well, over the past 10 years, we're seeing a downward trend. Since 2020, we're seeing a drop in terms of population. That means the death rate surpasses the birth rate. And according to 2025 statistics, those aged 65 or above account for about 1 million people, accounting for 23% of our total population. In relation to the low birth rate, we could encourage women to give birth, and we can offer more support to families. The BPA suggests that we roll out more tax breaks. For example, we should have $20,000 of child allowance. That is to increase the ceiling from $130,000 to $150,000 for child allowance. We should also adopt a progressive rate system to roll out tax concessions for families with children. We should also roll out tax breaks for families with young children. For those who hire domestic helpers, they can also get tax deductions. This is also to help promote a family-friendly environment. The BPA cares about the elderly care policy. We should regularize the scheme where elderly people can make use of healthcare vouchers in the mainland. We should work with the grade 3A hospitals in the GBA so that more people from Hong Kong can benefit. We should also lower the age threshold for those who can benefit from the elderly healthcare voucher scheme. The vouchers should be used for curing chronic diseases as well as for rehabilitation services. We have to make use of technology at the same time. This is the major trend. We should expand the Gerentech platform under the INT fund. We should help elderly people make use of technology to get support. We should also speed up the program of community living rooms in 18 districts. We should enhance digital literacy of elderly people. We should make use of our district care teams. We should step up their support so that they could make online appointments using their elderly healthcare vouchers. We should make use of technology to invest in major infrastructure to provide elderly care support. For example, we can allocate more resources to the WSD to promote smart meter scheme. Smart meters can take meter reading every day. And children can use the app to check the water usage amount of their parents. If anything unusual is detected, they can go visit their parents immediately. Lastly, I want to say that it's very hard for elderly people to walk upstairs. For old buildings that are about 3-story highs, or take 7-story tenement buildings as example and village house buildings in the new territories, well, I have to declare here that I live in a standalone house with 3 stories. I think we need to build elevators in these buildings. Well, I don't have time to talk about talents here, but I believe other members would cover this in their speeches. It is only by improving these measures that we'll be able to encourage childbirth and that we can provide a better environment for our future generation to sustain the development of our city. Then our elderly people can live longer and in a healthily way. I so submit. I speak in support of the motion and the amendments.
Reverend Peter Kuhn. Thank you, President. I would like to speak on 2 areas. 1, I heard many members touch on childbearing. I can't have children, but let me say something. Right now, the pain point we are faced with is an aging population, and we will see a peak in 20 years. Even if we encourage people having children, it would only be of use 20 years later. We shouldn't encourage people not to have children, but we need to look at other countries where there is an aging population. When they admit talents, they have specific criteria. Say, for Australia, if you speak Chinese as a minister, you're pretty much guaranteed to be successful in immigration. I also raised a motion during a 2 sessions meeting where we had youngsters who are able to go to Guangdong for employment, but Hong Kong youth can't. And after my motion, Hong Kong youth are allowed to take part. And right now, in the mainland, they don't even allow for working holiday arrangements, but many youngsters are very interested in such arrangements. I think, unlike Dr. Judy's who focus on foreign domestic helpers, we should focus on youngsters. We have Singapore providing comprehensive support. I know many would say that we are pretty much shifting the burden to other groups, but I would like to highlight the fact that we have a manpower gap or a demographic gap in general. We really need to think about closing that gap. I'm trying to be pragmatic here. Encouraging childbearing is a long-term initiative. We need to think about having a top-level design. It is almost necessary to have a top-level design. The chief executive talked about having a 5-year plan, but we need more details. I also talked about an aging population. Many members quoted some figures, and we see many officials here. It seemed, however, before, when there are certain issues raised, the work appears to be interrelated, being under the purview of different bureaus and departments. So when I talked about having a top-level design, I think we should have a bureau secretary that would be coordinating all policies relating to demographics. President, I said when I was promoting my platform that we have an aging population and we have a significant elderly population compared to other parts of the world. If we don't address this issue, even if we have good economic development, this is going to hurt us. I hope the government can identify the pain point, close the demographic gap, do something in demographic policy, especially with the admission of population. We shouldn't just aim to admit top talents, but also those who will be beneficial to us. And I think we need to have a senior government official, perhaps a bureau secretary, specifically coordinating demographic policy, because this is a difficulty we'll face in the long term. Thank you. Mr. Chan Cho Kwong. I agree with the general direction of the original motion. We are faced with the pressing issue of our issues in demographic structure. I will not repeat the points made by other members before. I think under the premise of not using public money, we can have make more student visas available for those students who are studying in DSS private schools and international schools. Not only can it stabilize the operations of schools, it will also bring about additional resources. So not only students can benefit, but also teachers can benefit. Also, if students grow up here, they will become a part of our talent pool in future. As long as we have clear quota numbers, as well as having targeted arrangements for those staying in Hong Kong, I believe we can strike a balance. We also need to think about how we can extend manpower. In the original motion, it talks about extending the retirement age for all civil servants to 65. When faced with a manpower gap, I think we should study the possibility, but we should not take an across-the-board approach in extending the retirement age to 65. About this motion, I actually consulted those in the police force. The representatives expressed concerns about the across-the-board approach. They hope the Civil Service Bureau can proactively ask those who are retired or who are going to retire at 55 to have their retirement age extended to 60, but the choice will be made by the police officers. I think the government should launch a flexible retirement regime. We have different retirement ages, 55, 60, and 65. I don't know if there is still early retirement where people can retire at 45. Under the premise of not affecting promotion and legacy, I think we should have flexible retirement arrangements where we have different retirement ages rather than a single retirement age based on the circumstances of different positions and different departments so that we can cater to the actual circumstances while allowing those who are experienced and who are willing to serve longer continue to make contributions. Before we launch any new retirement arrangements, the government must consult the civil service unions to make sure to have their support. Any changes in the retirement regime will affect tens of thousands of civil servants. We should have an approach where we are coordinating with civil servants to maintain manpower, and it can also facilitate the modernization of the civil service. We cannot rely on a single solution on demographic issues. I think with making available more student visas, it will be an approach where we can strike a balance where we can have youngsters and we can build a more stable demographic structure so that we can have a bright future for Hong Kong. Thank you, Ms. Jenny Man. President, I first would like to thank Ms. Judy Chen for proposing the motion so that we can discuss how we can have a comprehensive demographic policy. We have a low fertility rate. We are also going to make use of AI much in future. These are trends that we cannot reverse. We should make adjustments to our policy to cater to these demographic changes. I very much support what is said in the original motion about promoting germ technology and creating an elderly-friendly environment. With advancements in technology, elderly persons can monitor their health indicators, and they can inform medical personnel should they see any problem. We now have the conditions for people to age in place. However, also with the advancement of technology, we have technology replacing people. For elderly persons going to banks, many banks don't have tellers, they only have machines. Even if elderly persons can talk to staff members remotely via the machines, the elderly persons are not as familiar with the technology. So with the development of technology, we should consider the needs of the elderly. We should not make it difficult for elderly persons with the use of technology to create a truly elderly-friendly environment. I also agree with what is said in the original motion about enhancing AI education and training, and Mr. Ken Wong also talked about having a reform of the AI curriculum. I very much support this. In future, we would have work in different sectors making greater use of AI. And if one does not know how to use AI, it can be difficult for them to get hired. It is very important for us to include AI elements in curricula. With rapid advancement in technology, the curricula may not be able to catch up. In order to enhance digital education literacy of students, we need to start with training for teachers. I suggest the government subsidize teachers in continuous learning courses on AI to make sure they have the adequate knowledge to use AI. I also want to touch on the amendments proposed by Ms. Maggie Chan. We need to provide diversified childcare services to allay the concerns of parents. We have a low fertility rate, but sometimes we don't understand why youngsters are not getting married and they don't have children, which is why we should have, as Ms. Nixie said, a comprehensive survey to find out why marriageable persons are not getting married and are not having children. I asked many youngsters why they are not getting married or having children. They have many concerns. They don't know who is going to care for the children. If we don't allay their concerns, things will not improve. Childcare services are very important. Many youngsters are working. To strike a balance between work and childcare is an actual concern. If we can increase the provision of childcare services, younger professionals will not be worried that their children won't be cared for, and I believe that should boost fertility rate. We have a same situation with elderly care. Every 1 in 3 people will be an elderly person in future, and many younger ones would have to go to work and they do not have the time to care for the elderly. If there can be daycare or outreach care for elderly persons, children of elderly persons will not be worried about accidents happening, and they do not have to send elderly persons to residential care homes for the elderly. I believe that's the best solution. I so submit.
Mr. Jonathan Leung. Madam President, we have a grave challenge before us in our demographics. Last year, fewer than 32,000 births were recorded, a record low. Population aging is worsening. By 2046, 1 in 3 people will be a senior. In this double whammy, our workforce is shrinking. Without improvement in the situation, our competitiveness will suffer. The willingness to give birth depends on a range of factors. The government has launched a package of measures. We have the $20,000 baby bonus and priority access to housing, tax break, better child care services, etc. However, these policies have done little to reverse the trend of falling birth rate. The Liberal Party calls for greater support for families, especially for childcare and long-term financial incentives. We need more and more flexible childcare services that work for working parents' schedule. The government should consider progressive child allowance for tax, and that should make it easier to raise children. There is no single panacea for encouraging childbirth. We have to review the existing measures. We have to consider measures in housing, childcare, and employment to create this favorable and enabling childcare environment. The population is aging. There are Doubleton or Singleton household policies. Last week, there was a discussion about seniors housing. I called on the government to adopt technology to safeguard seniors, such as 4 alert systems, smart home appliances. Safety aside, we should also encourage seniors to be socially engaged, and that would be good for seniors' well-being. So the government should consider funding schemes for seniors to buy tech products such as tablet, computers, smartphones, and also health monitoring devices. This will drive the silver economy, and it will also get seniors to be more socially engaged. As people age, their health declines, they cannot cook, their teeth also decay, then that means soft meals will have a role to play. Now soft meals cover pineapple buns and also pork chop on rice. The soft meal now on offer is almost as good as the real thing. Soft meals are a key part of the silver economy. We should promote this. So let's do accreditation and subsidy so that more seniors can benefit from soft meals. On extending the retirement age for civil servants, the Liberal Party keeps an open mind about this. But what if our birth rates reverse? Without that, our workforce cannot cope with the need. And there's no room for talking about more paternity leave and maternity leave. And because people have to work overtime, they cannot possibly be expected to have and raise children. We also, the Liberal Party, as a matter of policy, support jobs going to local workers first. It's not cheap for hiring imported workers. We have to pay for the retraining levy. The unemployment rate is at 3.8%. Some sectors are still struggling. The F&B sector is heavily hit by the labor crunch. We have the enhanced supplementary labor scheme. We can adopt robots. Even with all those measures, we cannot reverse the labor crunch, and we fall short of customers' demands. we're still struggling to live up to the name of a food paradise. A shrinking workforce is a fact. We need enough manpower, and that's crucial for our competitiveness. The government should continue to import labor for sectors to sustain the operation of those sectors. I so submit. Ms. Chen Hao-Yan. The government statistics show that our total population was roughly 7.5 million. The natural loss of population was sizable. We had a net inflow of people from the outside, and we were saved by that. And that points to the grave challenges confronting us. The birth rate is low, the population is aging, the workforce is shrinking. These three factors are mutually reinforcing, and that holds our economy back. On demographics, the government has taken a number of steps. We have the baby bonus to encourage childbirth. There's extra child allowance. Last year, we also enacted a law removing the limit on the storage of embryos, of gametes and oocytes for assisted reproduction. We also have the Top 10 Pass scheme and labor import schemes. These efforts deserve recognition, but we can do much better. Encouraging childbirth will take more than financial incentives. We need family-friendly measures such as flexible work hours, more days for paternity leave, paid parental leave. Those measures will give families the confidence to have and raise children. We also need vocational and professional education and training. That will make life less stressful for young people, and we will also have a more diverse talent pool. We are accused of taking a band-aid approach, and we are facing a complex challenge of demographics. For that, we need a comprehensive strategy. Otherwise, we cannot turn things around. The problem confronting us today has to do with the scattering of measures falling into the portfolio of different departments. Measures are inconsistent. For example, we've been handing out the $20,000 baby bonus. We're expanding assisted reproductive services. At the same time, we removed the $2,500 student grant, and that's making life harder for families, including grassroots families and middle-class families. A population policy involves more than just a single measure. We need a holistic approach. We can learn from overseas experience. Take South Korea. They have the world's lowest birth rate. The government there relied on more than one-off incentives. In 2025, they offered 6+6 parental leave. And that means each parent gets up to 6 months parental leave. And they also have free access to assisted reproduction. And that translated into a 16-month increase in birth rate. In South Korea, they have centralized coordination covering housing, employment, childcare, and elderly care. They have a clear direction, and they made a coordinated effort. Singapore released a white paper in recent years as well. They laid down their goals for their population development. That white paper covered infrastructure, top-level direction. That also managed expectations. We lack this kind of thinking. For our demographic challenges, we need a clear top-level design. For assisted reproductive services, extending retirement age, AI education, childcare education, housing, we need all these areas to fall into a single strategy. Back in 2018, we had an engagement on land supply. So back then, we had a 5-month engagement. Can we start a similar engagement going on for months? Can we get the government to take the lead and pull the wisdom from all stakeholders? And then we get a senior official to coordinate the effort of different bureaus and departments. The government takes the lead, and then the community can offer ideas. The 15th Five-Year Plan has set out a clear goal. We need quantity and quality for the population. We are part of our country, and we should be responding to the challenge in a similar way. I support Ms. Judy Chan's motion. I hope the government can give thought to the idea and come up with a holistic population strategy so that we lay the foundation for our prosperity and stability. Members, under the House rules, we have to conclude the debate at 1 p.m. today at the latest. At roughly 12:22, I will invite the mover to speak on the amendment, and then we will deal with the rest of the procedure. Members, please be brief when you speak, and please avoid repeating what has been said by others. That way, more members will get to speak. Mr. Peter Shiu. Thank you, Madam President. The motion today is about formulating development strategies to deal with demographic challenges. Do we want more and more people, or fewer and fewer people for Hong Kong? To be an international city, we will need 10 million people. We now have just over 7 million. How do we get more people? We have the world's longest life expectancies. We also have the lowest birth rate. At that rate, I fail to see how we can turn things around in the short term. Other members have called for encouraging seniors to work, to driving the silver economy. That's good. More support for childbirth. That's also good. For civil servants, extending the retirement age from 60 to 65 is also a good idea. I know some members beg to differ. Some civil servants have access to pensions. Other civil servants are on the new terms, meaning they get the MPF. Now, for those on a pension, the earlier they retire, the earlier they start drawing on the pension. They sail off into the sunset. Different considerations apply for people on the MPF. So even among civil servants, they have different views on this matter. The cost of living is a concern, so people may be better off by working longer. But then there are concerns that when people work longer, then there are fewer spots available for promotion. But you can look at it the other way. When people work longer, they will keep their job for longer after their promotion. So we support this idea of extending the retirement age. Mr. Stanley called for more days for paternity leave and maternity leave. That's welfare. The last government rolled out a raft of measures on welfare, and that meant costs for businesses. The secretary knows well. Even Mr. Tommy Chung didn't say anything about the motion today. As long as the government bankrolls the measures, I'm not against Mr. Stanley's proposal. For demographics, I don't want to repeat what others have said. Some people have discussed importing workers. This is an awkward idea. When workers hear about importing workers who are paid less, workers in Hong Kong bristle. We are better off avoiding that subject. But can we really turn a blind eye to this? Mr. Chris Sun knows I differ with the secretary on this point. I support attracting talent. We have more than 200,000 people who have come here. Those people brought with them their expertise, their know-how, and their money, and their children. That is the way to go to grow our population. On importing workers, we talked about the labor crunch. You have to face up to the reality at some point. You can worry about offending workers, but Hong Kong has to move forward. In September 2023, we started importing workers. That was a massive boost. We talked about this over the past couple of years. People complained about service quality. Tourists grumbled. Why? Because we were short-staffed. People had a hard time. Have we heard more complaints about that over the past 6 months because more workers came in, so fewer complaints were recorded? We need manpower from the outside. We have to make our policies such that we bring in outside manpower. We also discussed the median paying outside workers based on the industry median wage. Rents and wages are way cheaper in the mainland cities of the GBA, and local residents go to the mainland to spend money. So we have to think about the way forward.
主席，
Mr. Albert Chong. Thank you, President. A number of areas are covered today, including a shrinking workforce, aging population, as well as jobless rate. I'll focus on the jobless rate. According to media reports, the birth rate in 2025 further dropped to 32,000. A drop of 14% compared to 2024. I think we need to look into why young couples are not willing to give birth. We're seeing different family structures nowadays. There are people who decide to push back their marriage. For a lot of young couples, they do not dare to give birth, or they aren't willing to give birth because of the financial pressure. Well, there's the 20,000 newborn baby bonus. It costs a lot to raise a child. $20,000 is just a drop of the bucket. Also, there is competition at school, and so a lot of young couples are unwilling to give birth. To address the above pain points, when the government formulates the population policy, it should come up with all-encompassing policies, and it should roll out more assisted reproductive services. To alleviate the concerns of young couples, we have to echo the 2025 policy address. Building on the measures rolled out in 2025, we have to launch more support. I suggest that we should further alleviate the financial burden for young people. For example, the newborn baby bonus should be increased and the validity period should be extended. Through financial incentives, we should ease the burden of young couples. Apart from financial incentives, we need quality childcare services. Currently, in Hong Kong, for pre-primary school children, there is very little support. Take Singapore and Japan as an example. There is a lot for us to learn from them in terms of their childcare support. Let's look at Singapore. Their government strives to develop different childcare services like infant care and childcare centers. They provide quality and flexible childcare services. For infants that are just a few months old, as well as primary school children, they can go to these centers. This take away the pressure from young couples so that they can work with peace of mind. We should learn from this model. Also, the government should think about extending childcare services from schools to communities so that there could be more community-based services. The government could make use of vacant school premises or vacant government premises or even commercial buildings near residential communities to set up childcare centers so that working parents can send their children to these centers. There should be more flexible services. We should also think about introducing childcare services in the housing estates to be completed in the future. In the meantime, the government may allocate more resources to enhance the quality of the neighborhood support childcare project. There should be professional training for community nannies. There should be an accreditation scheme, and there should be service allowance so that more talents could become community nannies. We should build a team of professional and reliable community nannies that would provide high-quality childcare services for young couples so that young couples trust that their children would be taken care of. To cope with the challenges we face, we need assisted reproductive services. We also have to improve our childcare services to take away the pressure faced by young families. It is by building this comprehensive ecosystem that we could reverse the culture where people are unwilling to give birth. I so submit. Thank you. Mr. Kitson-Young. Thank you, President. First of all, I thank Ms. Judy Chen for moving the motion so that we could have a focused discussion on our population policy. I'd like to take this opportunity to commend the effort made by Mr. Chris Sun. He rolled out the newborn baby bonus scheme. This is a first step for us to improve our birth rate. Without this policy, we may see a lower birth rate. However, there is still room for improvement. Take the mainland as an example. There are many provinces and cities that roll out property procurement subsidies as well as maternity leave and other support. I hope that the government can further improve our pro-birth policies. Apart from the existing measures, there could be a system. The $20,000 newborn baby bonus is not enough. The government should disperse subsidies to children based on their different development stages to alleviate the financial burden for families. There should also be spending vouchers for children, for example, vouchers for formula as well as vouchers for learning supplies. We also need child healthcare vouchers. Child's immunity systems are weaker and they need more healthcare services. By dispersing this kind of voucher, we can again take away the financial burden of families on healthcare expenditure. Domestic helpers can also offer help to parents with children. It can also help replenish the child care services that are lacking in the community. They've been supporting our labor force as well as a major driver of our economy. The government may provide tax deductions for families that hire domestic helpers to lower the expenditure of families. It could be dispersed on a reimbursement basis or on an accounting basis. For families with newborns, the tax deduction could further be enhanced so as to lower the costs for hiring domestic helpers for families. We also need an effective monitoring system for domestic helpers. Domestic helpers lend money from financial institutions nowadays, and the employers became the guarantors. We need, therefore, an effective system to monitor the domestic helpers in Hong Kong. The system should be made transparent. There should be a blacklist of domestic helpers for repeat offenders. They should be included in the database that should cover both domestic helpers as well as employers. Also, there should be stepped-up monitoring on intermediaries and agents to prevent overcharging by intermediaries on domestic helpers so that domestic helpers won't be on huge debt and that they won't have to lend money from financial companies. Apart from the above, the government should adopt a dual approach to increase the number of childcare service places. There should be daycare childcare services. The number of service places should be increased to broaden the coverage of this service. We should also take care of children with special education needs. According to the SWD, there are 126 schools in Hong Kong that take part in the relevant childcare scheme. They together provide 5,900 service places. Schools provide the venues, and recognized bodies, they provide the childcare services. Because of manpower problems, there are limited childcare services provided right now. Can relevant restrictions be relaxed so that recognized bodies can provide directly childcare services? For example, students and schools can work together, and on one hand, we can provide more childcare service places. In the meantime, we can cultivate the sense of responsibility of secondary school students. As a parent, I understand what is holding young families back from giving birth, because they have to face mental pressure as well as financial burden. We have to address the financial burden, healthcare expenditure, as well as other types of burden, so that they are bold enough to give birth, and that would help inject new impetus to the development of Hong Kong. I so submit. Thank you. Dr. Johnny Ng. I thank Ms. Judy Chan for the motion. This is a very important topic. We're faced with medium and long-term population problem. This problem covers housing, healthcare, productivity, and other areas. This has to do with the long-term development of Hong Kong. Currently, Hong Kong is faced with a shrinking labor force, population aging problem. We need to have talents to promote our INT sectors. So we need a comprehensive population policy as well as a blueprint. GBA cities have been developing rapidly, especially with the GBA outline development plan. GBA cities are developing in a cluster, so we have to come up with a population policy to tie in with the development of the GBA, and this is to help boost our competitiveness. According to statistics, as at 2024, the median age of our population is 47.9. Australia is 38.3, Singapore 42, and Macau 40.2. The median age in Shenzhen is even lower, of course. Some asked whether we will become a city with a population of 10 million. Well, we'll have to think about that. But we have to first lower the median age of our city. To build a high-quality city, we have to have more pro-birth policy. I agree that we have to relax the assisted reproductive services to provide greater support for women wishing to give birth. We should not rely on a slogan in order to achieve that. We have to take into consideration women could afford to give birth. We have to lower or shorten the waiting time for assisted reproductive services. We need to also give more incentives to women. For example, there could be a progressive tax system so that families with children can get a greater tax break. There should also be tax deductions for families that hire domestic helpers to take away the financial burden of families. Apart from encourage childbirth, we have to bring in talents in order to address the short-term problems. Mr. Grissom had done a lot. He rolled out the talent admission schemes, and a great number of talents are willing to come to Hong Kong through the schemes. Hong Kong, as an international city, we have to enhance our appeal. Are these talents coming to Hong Kong just for the visa? Are they here to work? Did they bring their family members here? This deserves our attention. I have a lot of friends who are incoming talents, and I asked them why they're here. They told me that education for their children is crucial. These talents, they do not want to send their children to local schools in Hong Kong because they do not speak Cantonese. They speak Putonghua and English. So we need international schools. We need primary schools and kindergartens to accommodate these children. And these talents, they are elites, so they're looking for branded schools and well-known schools. So we need to provide the relevant services to them. Also, top talents, they bring their dependents to Hong Kong who are aged under 18. I was also told that they want to bring their elderly family members here too. But they cannot bring their families here. They can only do so through the new capital entrance scheme. So can we relax the definition of dependents under the scheme? Some also asked me whether they could only stay here for 7 years in order to get the permanent residency here under the CIES. I think we have to enhance the appeal of the scheme so that we can attract top-tier talents to come to Hong Kong. Now, on artificial intelligence as well as sharing technologies, well, these are ideas proposed in the motion. I support them. As for the idea to extend the retirement age for all civil servants to 65, I have reservations about this. I think we have to be flexible. All in all, I hope that the government will continue to roll out a basket of measures to increase our population and to enhance people's sense of well-being. Thank you.
Mr. Jonathan Lamport. Thank you, President. I would like to thank Ms. Judy Chen for proposing the original motion. Whether it's creating a childbearing-friendly environment, promoting germ technology, enhancing AI education and training to tackle with the challenges of a shrinking labor force and an aging population is really what we have to do. The labor participation rate in Hong Kong is now 57.1%. It is key that we look at extending retirement ages, especially for extending the retirement age of civil servants. We need the experience and wisdom of the silver-haired group to enhance productivity. The commercial sector is concerned whether internal enhancements are enough, whether we should be more proactive. Right now, Hong Kong is aging at an exponential pace, especially in the industries of tourism, F&B, retail, and beauty services. In order to unleash silver labor potential, the government needs to enhance labor importation schemes as well as talent admission schemes to allow talents through closed-loop management bring their funds in the mainland to Hong Kong to acquire property. And they can then truly settle in Hong Kong, and medium and long term, we can really meet the gap brought about by the low fertility rate. We should have a target of having 10 million in population. And we have seen this being a great indicator of whether a city is successful. We only have 7.52 million in population, and many men who propose will know a 3-carat diamond will be of higher value than 10 smaller diamonds. It is the same with population. With more people here in division of labor, we can have better work. And if we need to have high caliber talents, that can really change everything. It's just like what happens in orchestras. If we only maintain on a low level, we cannot meet the needs for talents in advanced technology and AI. Talents need a stage for them to perform. So I ask the government take a macro perspective and have at least in mind a 10 million population. The commercial sector also wants to have diversity, and with diversity in a team, we can see that profitability rate can be increased by 39%. So we really need to have diversity with talent admission. We should have talents from Europe, America, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. We should give them additional score. With diversity, it can be more attractive to students and talents. President, to boost childbearing and extend retirement can help us solidify foundations, and with the admission of talents, it's how we can have a brighter future.
Ms. Judy Chen, you will now speak on the amendments. Thank you, Madam President. My heartfelt thanks go to the 6 members who moved amendments, and also to the 34 other members who spoke. They shared their valuable views. They enriched my motion so that my motion now becomes more encompassing and more targeted. Mr. Ken Wong proposed a reform of the curriculum to promote AI education and as well as stepping up maths and science education. I fully support that. We're still at the start of our AI education, so I urge the government to come up with a learning framework for AI literacy. Let's also step up teachers' training so that we can have enough of a talent pool for our long-term development. Mr. Duncan Chiu also proposed improvements to the admission mechanisms so that we bring in high-caliber talent. The Top Talent Pass scheme has brought in the best and brightest. Bringing them in is just one part of the story. We have to keep them here and we have to make the most of them. I support Mr. Duncan Chiu's amendment. On housing, children's education, we have to do better so that we can keep the talent that we have brought in so that they put down roots here and they contribute to our community. Apart from attracting outside talent, we should encourage childbirth locally, and that will help us meet the long-term challenge of demographics. So I support Ms. Nixie Lam's amendment about a survey among singletons to find out why they are not getting married and having children. On childcare subsidies and progressive taxation, progressive child allowance for families with children, as well as the idea about a range of childcare measures. Those ideas are in line with what the New People's Party is calling for. I also support Professor Priscilla LEUNG's idea of a silver startup fund to unleash silver productivity. The Silver Group has a wealth of experience and expertise. A dedicated startup fund for them will allow them to keep contributing to society, and that will also ease the labor crunch. I know I raised some contentious points in my motion. Ms. Nixie Lam, Professor Priscilla LEUNG, and some other members brought up a point about extending the retirement age for civil servants. They raised alternative views. I do understand that the civil service covers a wide range of functions. A broad brush approach is not the best way forward. That's because any such change will have wide-ranging implications. Flexibility and choice are what matters. So my original intention is to call on the government to look into the matter so that we can have a discussion about this. An aging population is something that we have to navigate together as a challenge. The government is Hong Kong's biggest employer. I hope the government can take the lead. Ms. Nixie Lam's amendment called for a Secretary of Development to coordinate a task force on demographics. I support that. Our proposal for the 2024 policy address also made a similar idea. We called for more senior officials to take charge of aging population and develop policies on demographics. I hope the government can give serious thought to implementing this idea so that we can keep creating fresh momentum for our population. I so submit. I hope members can support my motion. Thank you.
Secretary for the Civil Service. President. The motion moved by Ms. Judy Chen suggests that the government study extending the retirement age for all civil servants to 65. The number of members who raised the amendment expressed their support. Ms. Nixie Lam proposes that we adopt more proactive measures to attract capable civil servants to serve in the government after retirement. Just now during the debate, I heard that a number of members would like the government to retain silver-haired civil servants so that they could continue to serve the government. I have the following reply. On the proposal to raise the retirement age of civil servants, we have more or less achieved that. Over a decade ago, given the aging population and the manpower projection, the government strived to increase the workforce. Since June 2015, we've raised the retirement age of new recruits of the civil service to 65 for civilian grades and 60 for disciplined services grades. Also in 2018, the government launched the option for serving civil servants who joined the government between June 1st, 2000 and May 31st, 2015 to choose to extend the retirement age. Of the eligible civil servants, about 83% opted for deferred retirement. Currently, 70% of serving civil servants can retire at the new retirement age. That's 65 for civilian grades and 60 for disciplined services grades. In light of the technological advancement in recent years, our challenge, as stated in the regional motion and by several members, is to enhance serving civil servants' data literacy, AI education, and skills. This is not a quantitative issue. Therefore, we do not intend to raise the retirement age for the remaining 30% of the civil servants who are reaching their retirement age. Regardless of experience, skills, or market supply, raising the retirement age across the civil service would result in a brain drain of young civil servants due to hindered promotion prospects. We have to strike a balance between injecting new blood as well as enhancing the data literacy of civil servants. However, I fully agree that for civil servants who have reached retirement age but possess expertise or skills currently lacking in the government, we should have appropriate measures to retain or attract them to continue working for us. The government currently has various measures in place to extend the service period of civil servants, allowing departments to extend the service term of individual officers by up to 5 years subject to operational needs. This means civilian staff can work up to the age of 70, while disciplined services officers can serve up to the age of 65. For officers engaged under the post-retirement service contract scheme, there is no upper age limit. They may work beyond the age of 70, provided that the aggregate period of employment does not exceed 5 years. These measures are here to extend the service of civil servants and to provide departments with sufficient flexibility to address staffing and operational needs while ensuring a healthy turnover to maintain the vitality and drive of the civil service, thereby sustaining public service efficiency. The CSB will continue to oversee departments in their efforts to strengthen human resources planning and training and make effective use of various extension measures to retain suitable and experienced talent to meet manpower needs. Thank you.
And the Secretary for Health. President, I would like to thank Ms. Judy Chen for proposing the motion and 6 members for proposing amendments, as well as the valuable views of members. Hong Kong has a high standard of the medical profession and an efficient healthcare system. We rank among the top in the world for a number of health indicators. We are one of the locations in the world with the highest average lifespan and the lowest infant mortality rate. The percentage of Hong Kong's recurrent public healthcare expenditure in relation to the GDP for the year of 2023-24 is only 4.3%. Compared with other economies, Hong Kong's ratio of relevant expenditure is one of the lowest in the world. It demonstrates really the efficiency of the public healthcare system. It is worth noting that the demand for healthcare services from the elderly is much higher than that of other age groups. With rapid advancement of medical technology and an aging population, the overall healthcare expenditure as a percentage of GDP will inevitably continue to rise. We will continue to adjust and optimize healthcare policy to ensure the sustainable development of healthcare services. I would like to briefly summarize and respond to the impact of healthcare services on the creation of a childbearing-friendly environment, assisted reproductive services, and support for the elderly. The government is committed to promote maternity-friendly measures and has set up dedicated counters for pregnant women to shorten their wait for medical services. The government is also enhancing and integrating relevant information platforms to strengthen the provision of health information to women at different stages of pregnancy. At present, the maternal and child health centers under the Department of Health and obstetrics departments of the Hospital Authority are working together to provide comprehensive care to women. The Primary Health Care Commission also plans to provide free pre-pregnancy, antenatal, and postnatal group activities at the Women Wellness Satellites and the District Health Centers and Expresses starting from this year to support the healthy living of women and their partners. On assisted reproduction, the Council on Human Reproductive Technology has amended relevant subsidiary legislation to abolish the statutory storage period of gametes and embryos for self-use so that members of the public can decide on the storage period of gametes and embryos in the light of their own health conditions and other circumstances, providing greater flexibility to those who intend to have children. Also, starting from 2024 to 25, the Hospital Authority has started gradually increasing the number of subsidized IVF treatment quotas from the current 1,100 treatment cycles per year to 1,800 per year over a period of 5 years. To alleviate the financial burden on couples with fertility problems, starting from the year of assessment 2024-25, the government introduced a deduction for expenses on assisted reproductive services under salaries tax and tax under personal assessment to encourage couples with fertility problems to seek the necessary medical assistance. In the face of an aging population and rising chronic disease rates, the government is implementing a series of reform measures in accordance with the Primary Health Care Blueprint. The measures include launching a PPP program to identify at-risk groups at an early stage and establishing effective district health networks, and optimizing the elderly health care voucher scheme, including through the reward scheme, and expanding the GBA pilot scheme to cover all 9 mainland cities in the GBA to encourage the elderly to make good use of the vouchers to enhance their health. The HA provides services through multidisciplinary healthcare teams to continuously follow up on the health needs of the elderly to facilitate their aging in place, including the Integrated Discharge Support Program for elderly patients to strengthen transitional support services for elderly patients. We also have the community geriatric assessment teams, which regularly visit residential care homes for the elderly to provide medical and nursing care to frail elderly persons, as well as end-of-life care services in residential care homes for the elderly to support patients living there who are suffering from terminal illnesses. The Family Medicine Outpatient Service provides primary healthcare services such as health risk assessment and targeted care. The HA Patient Support Call Center provides telephone support services to high-risk elderly patients after discharge from hospitals to help monitor their conditions. The Department of Health also has the Elderly Health Service, with elderly health centers and elderly health outreach teams providing primary health care services for elderly persons living in the community to help enhance their self-care ability and encourage them to develop good living habits, to provide support to family members and carers to reduce the chance of elderly persons contracting illnesses and developing disabilities. I so submit.
Undersecretary for Education. Madam President, I thank Ms. Judy Chen for her motion and the 6 members for their amendments and the other members for their valuable views. A total of 41 members shared their views on education. They discussed AI education, digital education, vocational professional education and training, STEAM education, international schools, learning of Chinese for non-Chinese speaking students, the Northern Metropolis Unitown, as well as the arrival of non-local students. Members shared insights into AI education. Those points are highly in line with the Education Bureau's own plan in support of the digital transformation strategy for education, the push to build strength in education, the effort to invigorate the country through science and education and innovation-driven development proposed under the recommendations for the National 15th Five-Year Plan, the Education Bureau will keep redoubling its effort to drive digital education in schools. This year, the EDB will release the blueprint for digital education development in primary and secondary schools. The blueprint will cover the optimized interface between primary and secondary curricula of information technology and INT education, the AI literacy learning framework, enhanced AI training for teachers, and collaboration with professional bodies. We are now actively listening to views from stakeholders on the blueprint. Solid education in mathematics and sciences are crucial to nurturing INT talent. We're now reviewing the curriculum for senior secondary mathematics and sciences. We want to create a more favorable environment for students taking mathematics and multiple science subjects. By the end of this year, we will put forward enhancement plans and implementation proposals on mathematics and the sciences in the senior secondary curriculum. On UGC-funded universities, we support universities in offering programs that suit our needs. By 2026 and 27 academic year, our goal is to have at least 35% of students at UGC-funded universities enrolled in STEAM disciplines and 60% of students at these institutions enrolled in programs related to the 8 centers of Hong Kong under the 14th Five-Year Plan. These fields include INT. The government and the UGC will work together through the triennial planning exercise towards this target so as to train more graduates that meet the needs of Hong Kong's strategic development. The government sets great store by vocational and professional education and training. We want to raise the status of VPET. We will stick to the industry-institution collaboration approach. We will train up more graduates with the skills in technology, including AI, so that we will have more workers with the skills that are in demand. On places in international schools, the government supports the development of such schools to meet the needs of non-local families. When we expect a shortage of the places at international schools, the government will adopt an open and fair approach in allocating premises for international schools. The talent admission schemes rolled out in recent years are well received. So through the school allocation exercise, the Education Bureau will allocate school premises for more international schools. We have also set aside land in the northern metropolis for international schools. We also encourage those schools to enroll more students. We will also remove restrictions so that international schools will be able to build extra facilities on their existing premises, and that includes building dormitories. We will keep in view the demand and supply of international schools. The Education Bureau will continue to lead the education sector to embrace change and forge ahead in the major effort to promote AI education. We will nurture INT talent fit for the digital era to foster the integrated development of education, technology, and talent so as to contribute to the national effort to become a leading country in education by 2035.
Undersecretary for Commerce and Economic Development. President, I appreciate the views from members. I thank Ms. Judy Chen for the motion, as well as for the members who raised their valuable comments. With the continuous growth of the elderly population and the significant increase in the labor force participation rate among seniors in recent years, the silver-haired group has indeed become a huge consumer group in Hong Kong, driving demand for elderly-friendly products and services. Led by the Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration, the Working Group on Promoting Silver Economy is a cross-bureau coordination mechanism established in November 2024. The group announced 30 measures to promote the silver economy in 5 areas, namely boosting silver consumption, developing silver industry, promoting quality assurance of silver products, enhancing silver financial and security arrangements, and unleashing the silver productivity. Among them, the CEDB is responsible for promoting silver consumption and quality assurance of silver products, which yielded positive results. To boost silver consumption, the CEDB collaborated with the industry to enhance silver economy elements at multiple exhibitions, bring together products and services closely related to seniors' lives. We worked with e-commerce platform Design Gallery and the Hong Kong Council of Social Service to offer German technology products at both physical and online shops. We enabled product suppliers to seize the business opportunity and at the same time promoted consumption among the elderly. Under the CEDB's initiative, several major chain restaurant groups and food companies have launched soft meals, offering suitable dining options for seniors with swallowing difficulties. Also, the Consumer Council set up an advisory group on silver economy and launched on January 31st the Smart Seniors Consumer e-Hub, which provides seniors with a one-stop consumer information platform that strengthens the protection of seniors' consumer rights. On promoting quality assurance of silver products, the CEDB has been actively encouraging the industry to leverage Hong Kong's strengths in testing technology and professional certification to research and develop standards or guidelines for silver products and services, thereby offering higher quality choices for elderly consumers. With the support of the CEDB, the general requirements of dysphagia diet for elderly care food was officially included in the list of Greater Bay Area standards in September last year. The Hong Kong Council of Social Service has been working to promote the GBA standards to enhance the quality of soft meal products and expand a sales network across Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. We also rolled out the Hong Kong Q-Mark Silver Scheme last November to certify senior-friendly products and services. The Hong Kong Quality Assurance Agency in May last year launched the Hong Kong Registration Series and extended it to other products to establish relevant criteria for senior consumers to further develop the silver market. The CEDB will continue to encourage the industry to promote silver consumption and quality assurance of silver products, so as to develop more silver products and services across different sectors, promote silver economy, enhance the quality of life for the elderly, as well as create and drive new economic opportunities in Hong Kong. I so submit. Thank you.
Secretary for Labor and Welfare. I would like to thank the 41 members who have expressed their valuable views on the motion. I will talk in particular about the work of the Labor and Welfare Bureau on creating a childbearing-friendly environment, manpower development, and creating an elderly-friendly environment. The Bureau is committed to creating a childbearing-friendly environment to support working families in raising children and unleashing relevant labor potential. The government has been subventing NGOs for the provision of different types of childcare services. The government will further enhance the provision of daytime childcare services, such as childcare centers and school-based after-school care services. We will also support low-income working families to alleviate their burden and encourage more of them to join the labor market. The government has, in response to social developments and manpower demand, enhanced local training to enhance productivity and competitiveness. We are also actively trolling for and retaining talents to create impetus for growth of society. The Employees Retraining Board is undergoing a comprehensive reform to provide skills-based training programs and strategies for the entire labor force to promote continuous learning and upskilling for workers from different strata and of different educational attainment levels. That would include what many members touch on, training on AI, to unleash silver labor productivity. The Employees Retraining Board will also help older persons aged 50 or above to understand the current situation of the job market and provide training courses that meet their employment needs. The Labor Department also launched a Reemployment Allowance Pilot Scheme to encourage people aged 40 or above to re-enter the labor market. The Labor Department is conducting a midterm review of the scheme to explore further measures to encourage silver employment. The admission of quality talents is inevitably the most direct and quickest way to replenish the local population and labor force. The government is committed to recruiting mainland and overseas talent on the premise of giving priority to local employment. Since the introduction of various talent attraction and retention measures at the end of 2022, we have successfully attracted more than 260,000 talents to work and develop in Hong Kong. The incoming talents are mainly young people who inject innovative images into and bring diversified skills to Hong Kong, thereby alleviating the challenges posed by an aging population. The government will dynamically monitor manpower changes in Hong Kong, review the talent list and various talent recruitment measures in the light of demand for talents. We will continue to adhere to the principle of aging in place as the core institutional care as backup in enhancing elderly care services. The government introduced a community care service voucher for the elderly scheme and residential care service voucher scheme for the elderly to allow eligible elderly persons to choose approved services freely under the money follows the user principle and the co-payment model. The government also launched the residential care services scheme in Guangdong to provide more options to elderly persons. The government also launched a 3-year pilot scheme last year to subsidize elderly CSSA recipients to stay in residential care homes for the elderly under the residential care services scheme in Guangdong to enhance their quality of life. To support elderly persons in coping with cross-boundary elderly care and medical expenses, in December last year, the government launched a 2-year pilot medical subsidy arrangement where the government will share the medical expenses elderly persons have to pay out of their own pockets under the National Medical Insurance Policy. The government is also actively making use of drone technology to enhance the quality of life of elderly persons. The Labor and Welfare Bureau is planning to install a smart accident detection system for high-risk carer households on a trial basis to detect early on home accidents and to intervene and provide prompt assistance. In December 2018, the government set up a $1 billion innovation and technology fund for application in elderly and rehabilitation care. We have also expanded the coverage to cover drone technology use at home. The Labor and Welfare Bureau is now embarking on the work on the midterm review of the manpower projections to comprehensively assess the impact of the latest global and local developments on the manpower situation in 2028. We're expected to release the results in Q4 this year. The Census and Statistics Department will also conduct a population census this year to collect the baseline information on the population of Hong Kong. We will have the findings of the 2 sets of projections, helping relevant policy bureaus formulate sustainable development strategies in different areas to meet demographic challenges. President, under the steering of the Chief Executive and senior government officials, various policy bureaus will continue to perform their respective duties and collaborate with each other to plan and implement various demographic policies and measures. On behalf of the government, I would like to thank members again for their valuable views on demographic policy. Thank you.
And I'll call upon Mr. Ken Wong to move an amendment. President, I move my amendment. I propose the question to you that Mr. Ken Wong's amendment be passed. And I'll put the question to you as stated. Voting begins. Members, please press the present button. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the 2 groups of members present, that is, members returned by the election committee and those returned by the functional constituencies and by geographical constituencies. I declare the amendment passed. Mr. Duncan Chiu, as the preceding amendment has been passed, you may move your further amendment. President, I move my further amendment. I propose the question to you that Mr. Duncan Chiu's further amendment be passed. And now I put the question to you as stated. Voting begins. Members, please press the present button. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the 2 groups of members present, meaning members returned by the election committee and those returned by functional constituencies and by geographical constituencies. I declare the amendment passed. Mr. Stanley, as the preceding amendments are passed, you may move your further amendment. President, I move my further amendment. I propose the question to you that Mr. Stanley's further amendment be passed. I now put the question to you as stated. Voting begins. Members, please press the present button. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the two groups of members present, meaning members returned by the EC and those returned by FC and by GC. I declare the amendment passed. Ms. Maggie Chan, as the preceding amendments are passed, you may move your further amendment. President, I move my further amendment. I propose the question to you that Ms. Maggie Chan's further amendment be passed. And I put the question to you as stated. Voting begins. Members, please press the present button. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the two groups of members present, meaning members returned by the functional election committee and those returned by the functional constituencies and by geographical constituencies. I declare the amendments passed. Professor Priscilla LEUNG, as the previous amendments are passed, you may move your further amendment. President, I move my further amendment. I now propose the question to you that Professor Priscilla LEUNG's further amendment be passed. I now put the question to you as stated. Voting begins. Members, please press the present button. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the two groups of members present, meaning members returned by the election committee and those returned by functional constituencies and by geographical constituencies. I declare the amendment passed. Ms. Judy Chan, you still have 2 minutes, 16 seconds to give a reply, then the debate will come to a close. Ms. Judy Chan. Thank you, President. I thank the officials joining us. We discussed demographics at the last Legislative Council. Back then, the Secretary for Labor and Welfare was the only official here. I'm pleased to see 5 directors of bureaus here addressing this matter. I can see the divergent views on extending the retirement age for all civil servants. My original intention is to urge the government to study the matter. I'm not calling for broad brush measures. It will take more than a single solution to address the major demographic challenge. We need a holistic approach to address this long-term strategic matter. Whether there's a more senior official taking charge of the matter, LegCo will work with the government to rise to this challenge. I hope members can support my motion. And now I'll put the question to you that Ms. Judy Chan's motion as amended by Mr. Ken Wong, Mr. Duncan Chiu, Mr. Stanley, Ms. Maggie Chan, and Professor Priscilla LEUNG be passed. Voting begins. Members, please press the present button. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the two groups of members present, meaning members returned by the election committee and those returned by the functional constituencies and by the geographical constituencies. I declare the motion as amended passed. Members, the Council is holding the last meeting before the Lunar New Year today. I wish everyone and the rest of Hong Kong success and good health for the Year of the Horse. The Council is now adjourned until 11 a.m. on Wednesday, the 25th of February.